Hey rockers and punk rockers and any rockers. Thanks for being here, man. Tonight I'm going to do one of those things that I like to do once in a while, and that's answer some of the requests that I get. And tonight, the one I'm going to answer is I'm going to do a story about the story behind Bloody Mess Rock Circus. Yeah, the Bloody Mess Rock Circus was a band that I was in for a few years, maybe 2.5, 3 years. Great band, very flamboyant band, very physical band on stage, and a band that produced one good album and did some work for some movie soundtracks and etc. It was a great band, actually. When Bloody Mess and the Hollow Bodies disbanded, it was around 2012, and Christopher T. Baggins on bass and myself, we had a 12-state USA tour planned, so we decided we were going to go ahead and start another band and just keep going in the shadow of having been in the Hollow Bodies, which was awesome for me. I loved that experience. But we went ahead and put an ad on Craigslist, looking for a new guitar player because we couldn't find anybody that we didn't know, and we wanted some fresh meat, so to speak. New blood. Somebody outside the scene that played guitar that might want to join our little bubble we had created with this band called the Bloody Mess Rock Circus, which we hadn't yet called it that. We didn't come up with that name till later, but we got a call. Of course, our drummer was Justin Miller at the time, too. Shout out to Justin, a good friend of mine and a killer drummer. So me and Christopher and Justin put an ad out. A guy named Andy Friend answers the ad. Pardon me, I've got a head cold, man. Congestion keeps coming back over and over again. Every time the fog rolls in, I get sick again. Weirdness. I've never had a head cold longer than a week or a couple days, and it's been weeks, man, since I got sick for about a week, and then it never really went away up here in the head and the nasal area. So sucky, man. A lot of you have been telling me you're going through the same thing. What's going on? Anyway, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, like the video. Thank you. The Rock Circus. Andy Friend answers the ad, right? He comes over to the band house that we're rehearsing at. Says he's going to go on tour with us because we put an ad out looking for a guitar player to do this 12-state tour that we only had a few weeks or whatever it was. It was very short, a couple months at the most. I think it was a couple of months, maybe 2 or 3 months out, that we had this tour planned. 12 states, or 12 cities for sure, and it was awesome, man. Basically in the Midwest, and we did some gigs in Oregon, Texas, Arizona, Illinois, Wisconsin. We went through Memphis and stopped at Graceland and checked out the King's house and wrote on the walls. Anyway, the band gets to meet Andy Friend. We start rehearsing. We were a band that rehearsed like 3 times a week for hours every time we rehearsed, and we became like a well-oiled machine, very tight and very able to read each other's minds on stage and be able to just execute a great punk and roll show, which we did. The band was excellent live, by the way. Really good. I saw the videos, I know. But anyway, I digress. I was part of the band. Now I'm just bragging. Anyway, Andy Friend comes over and he practices with us a few times on guitar. He sounded great, nice, great rhythm going, man, and we're doing the songs. And after a few practices, maybe more, maybe like a half a dozen, one day I said to Christopher, hey, man, how come we've never heard Andy play any lead guitar? I never thought about this until then. He goes like, I don't know, man, I never thought about it either, but you're right, I haven't heard him do a single lead. And so we were tripping on it, and we thought we'd wait and see what happened at the next rehearsal. Well, at the next rehearsal, Andy all of a sudden starts doing a few leads, and we're like, oh, okay, maybe it was just us. And maybe he's like Johnny Ramone. He just, he's a power player, but he doesn't really focus on a lot of leads. Cool with me. That's pretty punk rock, man. So finally, we ended up going on tour, but just flash forward. I think it was after the tour was over with, Andy got a hold of me, and he said, man, there's something I got to come clean about. And I said, what's up, bro? He says, man, I got to tell you, when I first joined you guys, I didn't know how to play lead guitar. I go, what? He goes, yeah, man, I saw that ad and I wanted to do something with punk rock and roll. Saw your ad about how you guys were this band that you needed, a new guitar player. You were ready to go out on tour with a new name and I could be part of it. And I told my boss, I need these 2 weeks off to go on tour, man. And my boss says, you're not in a band. He goes, I'm going to be. And when he came to that rehearsal, he knew damn it, I'm getting this gig. I'm going on tour with these guys, and I will learn the lead guitar by the time we hit the road. And I got to tell you something, guys. I'd never had anything like that happen in all the years of rock and roll, which is 40 plus years. But that dude ended up playing a badass lead guitar. Now, he's not one of those guys that'll say to you, oh man, I'm a great guitarist. He'll probably say the opposite, because Andy Friend ended up being called the ambassador. Everywhere we went on tour, everyone loved Andy. He was the guy that was like our spokesman, was always the kindest person, but he was a badass on stage. The whole band was very physical, very visual, and Andy was just perfect for the band, man. And I tell you, man, I couldn't believe it when he told me, yeah, I didn't play any lead guitar when I joined you. And then I thought about it, and yeah, he waited, he rehearsed, he got all the rhythm down, which wasn't that hard. We wrote songs with him, so we created from scratch brand new songs, plus some of my oldies and a couple covers. But Andy wrote some good songs, man. We ended up doing one album together, by the way. I'll talk about that in a minute. The Bloody Mess Rock Circus Mountain Rock album, which was my 30th anniversary album. And I'm really still very grateful to all the people that played on this record and all the people that listened to the songs. You can find it on YouTube on my other channel, The Church of Rock, all one word. And check out the Bloody Mess Rock Circus. Also, guys, I wanted to let you know, when we were rehearsing with Andy, we decided we were going to do the tour sober, like no alcohol, and try to do this thing semi-sober. I'm not going to say there wasn't other substances being used, because I'd be a liar. But I digress. It was mostly a sober tour. There was no booze for the most part, and it was cool. Worked out great, man. I loved not drinking on tour. I tried to practice not drinking alcohol in these days because I knew better. It's a great way to lose friends, which I'll get to later. Anyway, Justin Miller, Chris on bass, Justin Miller on drums, Andy on guitar. We all went on tour, did a great tour, and like I say, Illinois, Oregon, Arizona, Texas, Wisconsin. We ended up calling the tour the Friction Addiction Tour. Yeah. You know, addicted to friction, use your mind. Friction Addiction Tour. It was a lot of fun, man. Just some great gigs. I'm not going to get into the actual details of all the shows. I could just do separate videos on that. But the band also ended up doing a lot of writing together, particularly Christopher T. Baggins and myself. And we sat down one time and we realized that there was an opening for a song on a soundtrack that was coming out to a film in Britain, in England, called Spy Darlings. Yep. This great filmmaking family over there, the Kopsowskis. Please say I pronounce that right. They produced this great movie, and it's got a lot of really trippy characters, like the original guy that played Charlie in the Chocolate Factory movie. He's in it. Also, the guy from the Toxic Avenger movies, you know, Lloyd Kaufman, he's in it. There's also a lot of other people. I'm not really familiar with their level of fame, but it's got a lot of neat people. We really wanted to write the title track to Spy Darlings, and we did. Christopher and I sat down and we composed the song, the music, and then I came up with the lyrics and the title. And, well, the title was already there, Spy Darlings. I took lyrics from the actual script of the movie because originally I had a part in this movie, a very small part, playing myself in a punk club in England, but I just couldn't come up with the money to get over there. I really did have the money. I just didn't want to go alone. I should have went. What an idiot. Anyway, me and Christopher and the band ended up recording the song Spy Darlings with the great Paul Rossler from the Screamers and 45 Grave and the Nina Hagen Band. He played keyboards on this great recording. It's about 7 minutes long. They did use it over in the UK for the title track of the movie. It's on the soundtrack. And this is on Blu-ray. Can you believe I've never seen the freaking movie because it's not on DVD? At least I don't have a copy on DVD. How embarrassing is that? This movie also came out on a couple of different versions of the CD soundtrack, which I had to pay for. These that were, you order them and they make them as they're done, as they're printed. So it's not like I was given these or I would have gotten copies for the whole band, but I had to pay for these. But it's pretty cool, man, that they made it available on CD, Spy Darlings. Really cool soundtrack. I made notes because my story is kind of complex, to be honest, but I want to take a moment to plug Ear of Corn fanzine. Yep, Saginaw, Michigan. Ear of Corn fanzine, brand new issue, great cover. It's got a real cool layout, lots of great content. I just wanted to give them a plug and say thank you for sending me your new copy. They have interviewed me in the past twice. Ear of Corn, old school punk rock fanzine. Thank you guys. Back to my notes. Bloody Mess Rock Circus. So we did the tour. Did a lot of little mini tours with Justin Miller, Andy Friend, me and Christopher. Had a blast. But good things come to an end. And finally, Justin bailed for personal reasons. Wanted to get out of the business for a while. So we ended up going through a succession of drummers in this band. And it got to be a joke. It was almost like Spinal Tap. Or like it wasn't meant to be. But we were going to see it through because we wanted to record an album together. And we found a label that was interested in putting out our album. Shout out to Kramer and Death Angle Absolution Records, who did put out the album. They not only put out the album, but they put out a sticker on there to let people know it was my 30th anniversary tour. Wow, imagine how I'll be on my 40th. This says right here, it's the 30th anniversary record from one of the last true outlaw underground punk rock and roll outsiders, Bloody F Mess. Featuring guest appearances from Richie Ramone of the Ramones, Rikk Agnew from the Adolescents, Social Distortion, D.I. and Christian Death, Don Bowles from the Germs and 45 Grave, and the great Paul Roessler from 45 Grave and the Screamers. This was actually produced by Rikk Agnew, recorded, mixed, engineered by the great Paul Roessler. I can't thank those guys enough for being part of my life and being part of this record. They both turned out to be fantastic human beings, and I have nothing bad to say. Just great things to say about Rikk Agnew and Paul Roessler, and I'm blessed to have known those guys. And I still work with Paul on a semi-regular basis. He's recorded 3 of my albums, including my new one. But back to this one. Recorded at Kitten Robot Studios in Los Angeles with Paul Roessler. All these great legends making appearances on the album. You know, what happened was we went through all these drummers and we finally got Chris Stevens locked in on drums, an excellent friend, great musician, a total partier, fellow Irishman, and a drinking fool. He loves his booze, man, and I love that guy. And I don't know if he still drinks or not, but hey, he was in the band, rocking and rolling with us, and then he found out he was moving to Portland, and we lost him. He wasn't in the band very long. I think we did a couple gigs with him, but it was a pleasure. Nothing but good things to say about Chris, because everything worked out in my story, and he apologized a million times for bailing just a few weeks before the album was to be recorded. So we didn't know what to do, but we weren't going to give up. We started networking with all these musicians in Southern Oregon, and we found a guy that was the manager of a store in Grants Pass called Magic Man. Well, he turned out to be our Magic Man, at least for this record. He may say we're a bunch of crazy nuts, which we kind of were and are. But Rich Pasonic, shout out to him. We kind of hired him as a session player. Not really hired him so much as he did us a solid. So nothing to say but good things about Rich Pasonic. We all drove there, and I think we flew Rich there by airplane. I'm pretty sure we bought him a plane ticket to fly there. I could be wrong, but I think he did fly there on our budget. We drove there in a van down by the river. No, but we drove down there, met Rich down there. He came into the studio, and to his credit, he learned this entire album in a very tight, precise rock and roll fashion in 2 weeks. 2 weeks after meeting us, he flew to LA, recorded the drums on this, stayed with us one night in a hotel, which ended up being a crazy night. We ended up staying Jim Morrison's old room at the La Cienega Hotel that's burned down and it's closed down in Los Angeles. And that's where the back cover photo was taken, in the room that Jim Morrison lived in for a couple of years. They called it the Green Room. And it still had all the walls were covered with graffiti, as you can see, every inch of it, even the doorknobs. This place was like a landmark for people to come and party. And I can't lie, man, over the years, I stayed in this room many times doing a lot of quote unquote bad things, like partying on a lot of things I don't party on now. But yeah, it was a crazy experience. Shout out to Nicho Mageras, who did the back cover photo for this. Kind of a classic photo. You wonder why there's only 3 of us. Well, that's Christopher on bass, Andy on guitar, me on vocals. Because we went through so many drummers, and when we recorded this, Rich wasn't really officially a part of the band. Although he's credited and all that good stuff in the booklet. He wasn't really a member of the band, although he did a couple live gigs with us, to his credit. So thank you to Rich Pasonic. You can find this album again, The Bloody Mess Rock Circus, on YouTube. Not only did we participate in the Spy Darlings film, we also wrote the soundtrack, or the title track, to the soundtrack of this film called Creepers. This is a horror kind of movie thriller that came out in Southern Oregon, and I started a very short but fun acting career in which I actually had a pretty decent sized role playing Cabby Eddie, a crazy cab driver, in this film Creeper. And there's another film on the other side that comes with this DVD called Covet Thy Neighbor, and I actually play a pot-dealing, drug-dealing hippie rocker guy. Anyway, this is pretty cool. So there's a song on here called Creeper, and we actually wrote the song. You can find that on YouTube also. It's kind of unreleased, except for on here. Type in the Bloody Mess Rock Circus Creeper, and you should find this. And you can find this movie on YouTube. It's only like an hour or less long. And the other side, Covet Thy Neighbor, both of them. All you have to do is type in Creeper, Tunnel 13 Films. Shout out to Ron Huffstutter, Tunnel 13 Films, for putting me in these movies. I did a few other movies as well. Courage of Two, Barbie Girls. Just small parts, but a lot of fun, guys. And again, the Bloody Mess Rock Circus was one of my favorite bands because physically I was at the top of my game. I was only about 45, 48 years old, something like that. And I was really at the top of my game for sure. Maybe 46, 47 years old. I'm pushing 59 now. I'm still at the top of my game, damn it. Well, we'll see come March 14th when I play at the Raccoon Motel in Davenport, Iowa. And also March 15th at the Live Wire Lounge in Chicago, being backed up by the great Super 88. Tickets are on sale at dice.fm for those gigs. The band broke up after the tour. Justin left the band. We ended up recording the album with Rich Pasonic. Then we ended up going through a few more drummers. And then we landed on a great dude named Chris Hauser, who's very controversial in Southern Oregon. He's more of a metal drummer, and he kind of collided with me in the band with his damn double bass drum. I'm like, dude, we need a punk rock drummer. We know you play metal. We like metal, but can you play punk rock? Sure. And then we'd do a gig, and Chris would get a buzz on and think it was fun to antagonize me and play that double drum and just look at me and grin. And I'm like, you prick. But he did it. He was a great drummer. He pulled him off. But I'm still kind of going, dude, really? I'm joking, man. Shout out to Chris Hauser. He's a good dude. He was actually with us when the band broke up too, man. And not a good thing when that happened. It was not a very good thing at all. I'd been staying sober, man. And I kind of fell off the wagon, and that's what led to the band, me and the band breaking up. I'll tell you how we broke up. It's pretty nuts. But first, when you get the Bloody Mess Rock Circus album, or hear it, Richie Ramone sings backups on Junk Mail, Iggy Pop Doesn't Stage Dive Anymore, Kali Yuga, and OCD Is Killing Me. Rikk Agnew plays guitar and or second guitar on Iggy Pop Doesn't Stage Dive Anymore, and Can't Take No More, and he contributed some screams to the song Spy Darlings. Don Bowles, Kali Yuga, Junk Mail, and OCD Is Killing Me. You can hear Don's distinctive vocals. Sister Tracy, and also my youngest daughter Audrey, aka Audreezy, did some screams for the Spy Darling song as well. And all the songs on this record written by myself, Christopher T. Baggins, and Andy Friend, except for Bluest of the Blue, written by Chris Baggins, Silas Shand, and Justin Miller. Just wanted to give those guys a shout out. And thanks again to the great Paul Rossler for recording this, and Rikk Agnew for producing it. So the band's going along. We're having a great time. Things are good, but there was a lot of friction building up for some personal reasons within the band that I really can't talk about without throwing other people under the bus. I don't want to do that. That's not the purpose of my channel, to hurt other people or to bring up bad, negative crap from the past. I'm just trying to tell a true story without getting myself in trouble or making others pissed off or hurt. You know what I mean? And if I do that, I'll remove it. That's happened before on this channel. I'll remove it. But I'm not going to let that happen, so I'm not removing it. Anyway, there was some friction going on within the band that built up over a couple years or more. And when we decided to play a gig after done so many great shows all over Southern Oregon and all over the country, after having done a great album, which came out on Death Angle Absolution Records, got great reviews. I'm proud of the record. It's definitely different than all my other stuff, but it's got a little of everything. Punk, rock and roll, some heavy stuff, and then, of course, goth if you count Spy Darlings, which is way different than anything I've ever done. That's one of my favorite and most proud accomplishments, is having gotten on that Spy Darling soundtrack in England and, you know, getting this 30th anniversary album out, which features a big booklet too, guys, like tons of pictures, all the lyrics. It was so great because Kramer was so generous in saying, make that booklet as big as you want, Bloody. You deserve it. You've been around a long time. It's my way of paying tribute to you, bro. And he really did that, man. So can't thank that guy enough. Christopher designed the front cover, I believe. I think so. I didn't. But it's a great cover. I like it. It's whack. So the band gets booked to play a gig. We'd done a ton of shows together. There was a lot of tension going on within the band, but it was kind of getting to a head. And boy, did it come to a head the night we got booked to play at a strip club in Redmond, Oregon. And remember, we had previously opened up for like DRI. We had opened up for MDC, The Mentors, tons of bands, man. We had done some gigs with the Rikk Agnew band, opened up for him in the desert in California, where I was attacked by a Marine one time on stage. I'm going to save some of those stories to tell as little short stories. But we ended up doing all these great gigs, man, all over the place, including Southern Oregon, where we were based. But we were basically a national act, doing more of our stuff like soundtracks outside of here. A little bit of work in Southern Oregon, gigs here, but most of the gigs outside of Oregon. And then it came to a head when we got to Redmond, played a strip club. And I really can't go into a lot of details because, well, got to protect the guilty. We played. I got mega drunk. Everybody was drinking like madmen. We all were, because they were just pouring them like shots, drinks. And it was kind of crazy. You think if you own a bar, you kind of would get to know human behavior after a while, especially with a rock and roll band. You know, one or two of those dudes is going to probably become a nut if you feed them enough tequila. Or not. Am I wrong? Well, I guess it's the responsibility of the drinker, so I'm going to be the first to raise my hand. I was an asshole that night. I had a lot of fun. And the girls that were there working, I don't remember. I blacked out a good majority of this time. I don't remember like leaving that club. I don't remember getting to our hotel. It's about 3 or 4 hours north, like east, I believe, of Southern Oregon, Redmond, Oregon, up in lumberjack country, I think, kind of. But it was a cool bar, man. And the girl that owned the bar with this other guy, they were cool. They were part of one of the bands that played on the bill with us that night. They were awesome. Female singer. I'm not going to name names because some of those people just don't like me because of this night, but I'm coming clean, man. I got drunk and I drank so much alcohol after having abstained for so long that I, basically went mental, had an allergic reaction, had a little too much fun. But from what I remember and from what I was told from Sister Tracy and everybody that did kind of piece it together for me later, we got back to the hotel and I ended up locking the entire band, including girlfriends, wives, everybody out of the hotel room, where there was people in tears, people that were angry. Security came. And then I basically, after screaming at them and being nuts and not letting them in the room for a long time, when security came, I was able to pull it together enough to act completely normal. And so he's like, well, this guy's fine. Just let him in. Okay, sure. And they came in and then I just kind of lost it. This is where I blacked out again. I was told that basically I engaged in a basically abusive altercation verbally with some of my band members, and particularly my bass player. And we both got into it. He was kind of telling me to shut up. I was just rambling on. And the security came again because of the people were complaining in the hotel. And of course I opened the door. Hey, how's it going? Oh, everything's fine here. Sorry for a little loud. Okay, good night. And then back into it. And Christopher finally said something like, hey man, why don't you shut up, man? And I snapped. Basically threatened him, and all this crap happened, kind of lunged at him physically. Our drummer, Chris Hauser, a strong little mofo, he grabs me apparently and kind of holds me like bear hug. And he's just not letting me go. No violence is happening. Nothing's going on. I'm just verbally, I'll kill you. Let go of me. Just drunk, Of course, the kind of thing that in 2 hours from now, I'm going to be like, I'm not going to remember any of this. And that's exactly what happened. But anyway, while I went through it, according to who told me, because it was a nightmare, man. The next thing I know, I'm waking up, open my eyes in the morning. everyone's mad. My drummer's really depressed. Chris Hauser had just joined the band. We'd only done a few gigs together. It was a lot of fun. He'd learned all the songs, and then this happens, and he's deflated. The bass player leaves, and with his girlfriend, his wife, now his girlfriend, fiance at the time, they take my car keys with them. Now, to his credit, he says he didn't do it on purpose. I'm going to choose to believe he didn't. So he says he didn't. I'm going to believe he didn't. But they drove home, man, like 3.5 hours, 4 hours south. And it was a holiday weekend and like a Labor Day weekend. And it was a Sunday when I woke up in that hotel room. Had to be out of the room by 10 or 11 a.m. It's now like 9. And I get a call from my bass player. He says, hey, man, dude, I got your keys. Yes, I'm pissed at you. Yep, I did leave and I was angry and you're an asshole. But I did not take your keys on purpose, bro. And I said, okay, I believe you. But what do I do? He goes, I don't know. I'm sorry about that I took them. And then that was it. And so I'm sitting there having to deal with the fact that I caused all this chaos, made people that I love like leave, people I'm in a band with leave. My guitar player, Andy, wakes up and he goes, hey, man, where's Chris and Sarah? And we're all like, oh, my God. So he blacked out the entire thing. Didn't even remember leaving the club either. Me and him were both just drinking a lot, man. And it was bad, really bad. And so we finally had to wait about 4 hours to find the locksmith to come and make a new key or whatever he did. And it cost me hundreds of dollars. And I was pissed at myself. It's giving me anxiety because, you know, I tried to rectify the situation with apologies and genuine emotion, actually. But was basically forgiven by one person, but not another. And, you know, the first time I met my ex-bass player, great creative individual, one of the best partnerships I ever had, really. He said to me, when I have a grudge, it's forever. And I thought, damn, I'm more of a forgiving kind of person, to be honest. It takes time. Yeah, sure. But I try to forgive and forget, man, because I remember only the good stuff from my career. I don't go back into the bad crap. Why? I've already lived it, you know. Plus, it takes a lot of energy to hate people and hold grudges. So, you know, it is what it is, man. I'm sure he'll see this and probably think, yeah, whatever, Dick. I just know, but whatever, man. There's been a lot of things that have happened since then, too, that I could really say that are not cool, that happened to me. I probably should, because then if you see the full picture of what's going on with this guy that's trying to be transparent, you know, but I'm trying not to throw other people under the bridge, man, and I'll just keep it private. But yeah, you know, vendettas can be a bitch, man, and I just don't hold them, you know. I'm just telling you the truth of what happened, and I take full accountability for the band pretty much breaking up, but back up a bit, because we're going this far into this long-ass video, and if you're still watching, you must care, so you want to know the end of the story. Truth is, there was a lot of crap going on that could have been controlled, and there wouldn't have been a lot of tension. That's the stuff I can't talk about, though. So either way, I'm just going to swallow my pride on this one and choose to take the high road and not go into that kind of psychological stuff and things that were happening within the band and other people. I'm not going to do that, man, because I'm just not gonna. But I am going to say thanks a million for watching my story. The band ended up pretty much, we had a 13-state tour booked on the East Coast of America. We were going to be playing Rhode Island, New York City, Connecticut. You know, we were probably going to play Kentucky, like somewhere in the South, and make our way up there. And it was all booked, man, but I don't remember any of those other states except for the ones I just named. And we were going to do a good one, but I had to finally call all the clubs and cancel every one of those systematically, methodically, one after the other, cancel all these great gigs that I had booked because the tension wasn't going away, the forgiveness just wasn't there, and the crap just hit the fan, man. You know, all I can say is shit happens, you know, and in that case, it's one of those things where I didn't want it to happen and I tried to save it. And that's a fact. I did try, or I would have apologized if I didn't mean it, because I could start another band, which I did later. But I did spend the next year after that doing nothing except one gig, and that was a gig I did with a band called the Cutthroats in San Antonio, Texas, when they flew me out to open up for the Murder Junkies with Merle Allen. But that's a story for another time. My friends, thanks for being here at Bloody F Mess Official. I just wanted to talk a bit about the Bloody Mess Rock Circus, because a lot of you, probably a few dozen, to be honest, not that many, have asked me to do stories about this stuff. And I kind of left off in the past at the Bloody and the New Disease chapter. And then I did a Hollow Bodies one, which I've since removed. You can always email me and talk to me about stuff like that. But I'm going to keep my word with my ex-musician friend, or not my ex-friend, but my ex-band member that asked me to remove it. Or we came to an agreement because his memory of it was different than mine, and I wanted to respect his version of what he said was incorrect. So I took it down, man, because I'm not here to ruin friendships or cause harm or open up old wounds. But you know, if you were in a band with me and you want to start a video channel and tell stuff that's the truth, I'm not going to deny it, man. I may be bummed out about some of the stuff that would come out, but what are you going to do, man? I'm only human. Thanks for being here, rockers. This is a long one, man. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean it to be so long and dragged out, my friends. I could actually go on and tell stories about gigs this band did, and I will. I'm going to do that separately down the road, right here at Bloody F Mess Official, where I am a windbag, a long-winded bag of wind. Cheers.